This is Take Flights with Mark Whittle.
Josh, welcome to the Take Flight podcast.
Nice one. Thanks for having me on.
Mate,
It's been a while.
it has been a while.
Yeah, we've been trying to get this in for a long time.
Yeah. Do you know what? On the way here, I was thinking, I can't even remember how we first were introduced. Can you?
That is a good question. I think that's the power of Instagram. The power of LinkedIn, perhaps. I think it was when I was putting out content around a few years ago.
Yeah.
And you come across me because you were putting out similar content, and that's how we connected, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I was obviously aware of the business and everything that you're doing with that. So
Yeah.
You're right, that was it. Clicked on your name, and then it was like founder of Sole Supplier. I was like, oh, okay.
So you're into your shoes, right?
I'm into my shoes.
Just so you know, he's wearing Huaraches on his feet. We'll get into that. We're both wearing Huaraches today. And what's funny about that is, I was saying to Mark as I walked in that the Huarache that he's wearing is the shoe that. So Sole Supplier has been going 7 years, and for anyone that doesn't know, it's Western Europe's largest footwear and streetwear discovery engine. And the shoe that made us blow up was that triple black Huarache that you've got on your feet. And I don't think you knew that, but it was just really, it's like the universe has kind of brought that here today.
It's amazing. It's my favourite shoe, actually. The only thing I'm a little bit disappointed about, this is the new one, because my old one, the back broke.
Yes.
And they've they changed the material a little bit.
It's a comfy shoe. I mean, that shoe was just 2015, the all white and all black Huarache. Everyone wanted them. That was almost what made footwear or sneakers in the UK blow up, like they did.
Yeah.
That was what started that exponential growth curve of like footwear in the UK, I think, for our generation. Yeah.
I'd love to talk in depth about that moment, particularly because it was almost like some sort of tipping point. But before we do, so the idea started, or the business started in your bedroom, but where was that moment of initial ideation, like the first time you thought about creating Sole Supplier, whether it had that name then or not? When was the first time you had the idea?
Yeah, so I'm 31 now, but when I first got into footwear was when I was around 19, 20. I didn't go to uni, I left school at 18, and I learnt a lot from my dad, who had been in business and had had his fair share of successes and failures, right? So I got straight out into business and was doing a range of sales jobs, and every time I would make commission, I would buy some footwear to celebrate. I was like, right, I've got a deal in this sales job, I'm going to buy a new pair of trainers. And my dad used to be like, stop buying all of these shoes, stop wasting your money. But don't get me wrong, I was financially sensible from early, but that's how that kind of bug started. And that's what I've seen people, get in this industry. They get the footwear bug. I mean, I've seen people that have worn desert boots all their life getting to this industry, and then all of a sudden they're collecting Yeezys, Air Maxes, and it's just something about this all-in-one thing on your feet that can build an outfit from the ground up. So that's where I got the bug. And then I was reselling them to make extra money. I've always been a bit of a hustler at heart. I've always been selling stuff on eBay, trying to save and basically stack money for the future at the time, which I didn't know what it was going to be for. But the point is, I knew I needed money if I ever wanted to do anything. So I would save. I stopped drinking for 2 years. And then eventually my love of the web and me needing the information to find where to buy these shoes came together, and I started the blog, the WordPress site, which was to give people the info. And straight away people were like, this is so needed, there's only US websites doing it, and now we have a UK hub, the Sole Supplier, for where we can find the information for people to buy. And that was it. It was helping me, because I was already researching, right? I was already looking, where can I buy this Huarache that's coming out at the weekend? So then all of a sudden, what helps you helps other people. That's the classic. If it's a problem for me, it's a problem for others, so to speak. So yeah, and it was slow at first, and it was the Huarache, like I say, that after around 9 months really blew us up.
So you were working a full-time job in sales in the city?
In recruitment.
Recruitment, okay, amazing. And you it sounds like there was almost this like innate belief that something was going to happen for you in your life.
Yeah.
It's a common theme for people who I've spoke to, like believe there's something special about themselves and something special for them. So you were selling trainers on the side to make a little bit of extra cash. You didn't know what for at the time.
Yeah, like it's funny you say it's a common theme, right? Because I don't want this to come across in an arrogant way, but people have said, did you know that you was going to do this? I said, I don't know I was going to do this, but I knew that there was something big for me out there. Like from early, like from when I was like 12, 13. And there's a crazy story of me and Dan, who I work with now. He's our CMO. He's my best friend. And they always say, don't work with best friends. But it's been the most beautiful relationship, and it works a treat, okay? So that's my first thing. Don't listen to that. If you've got a friend you trust, work with them. I'm sure you can work it out. If you have that trust, you know, that deep-rooted trust. But I said to Dan, we were sitting there after a day's work. This was when we were in a kind of mini celebratory phase of having a drink after work, and we had just started, he was doing 2 days a week. We were working from my parents' spare bedroom, me and him in their office, their spare bedroom office, after about 1.5 years, 2 years in. And Dan didn't really know how much money we were making, and the Hirachi had just started making us a lot of money that week. And I basically said to him, he said, what's your ambition with this? I said, well, I've always had this crazy number in my head. I want to get to a business that's worth 70 million. And this was after 1.5 years or a year, 2 years in. He was like, 70 million? Where have you pulled that from? And so fast forward like 6, 7 years later, and we're not far off if we're getting close to that number now. And we always look back on that moment and just, you kind of, like you say, have this innate belief that we can do it. And it slowly but surely it gets there. And at the time, part of you thinks, I'm not sure, can we do that? But there's just that deep conviction, we will get there.
You're saying you had it even when you were like 12 years old. Where do you think it came from? Like the belief in yourself, or the belief that there was something special for you?
It's so difficult to say, man. That is... My dad and mum were very big drivers of me doing well and instilling good motivation, even though they didn't have a lot of money themselves. They always pushed me to try and be my best self. And like I was a little shit at school. And I actually got asked to leave school at 18. I didn't fully finish my A-levels. So for anyone that's watching this, and I said I got A-levels, I kind of got my AS levels, but I didn't get my A-levels. and it was the most horrible time of my life, because they had spent all their kind of efforts as their only son, putting me into school and looking after me, and then just trying to instill this confidence in me. It was always just about building me up for them. And I think that's one of the benefits of me being their only child. I got all of that care and sort of that push, which maybe if there had been 3 others in the family, I may not have got.
That's really interesting, mate, because I was talking to, it was my brother the other day actually, and because my brother does really exciting things as well, and we kind of, it's a bit of an anomaly in today's world. I was thinking, like, because we got this love and support, it gave us a foundation that we didn't have to worry about safety, essentially. Safety, money, it was all taken care of. So we were then given the space to dream about whatever it is that we wanted to dream about. And we had, amazing holidays which showed us different part of the world and exposed us to what was possible. But
this is a good point you said about the what you see, what you're exposed to early can build that hunger. So I've never really shared this, but I think it's like a part of what I should share because it's important. So I went to a private secondary school, right? My parents are from like absolute humble beginnings. My dad's out of Deptford, my mum's from Gillingham, and they struggled to send me there. And I got in there on a charity place. And we were living in like a 2-bedroom terraced house in Sidcup in South London. And I was going to school with kids that had mansions in Blackheath, and they were getting their first cars at 17. That was the BMW. So I was good friends with some of them. I was a little bit of an outcast in that sense because I wasn't financially up there with them, right? So there was that was a bit tricky, but I was still in with good groups of people. And that exposure, almost like you said there, when you see those things, that made me want more. I was like, I need that. I need that mansion. I need that car. I want that car. I mean, it's all very material, but when you're younger and you haven't built that awareness or that spirituality of like, actually, there's a lot more than just material things, it makes you strive, it makes you hungry. And that is a big factor.
That's so good to hear. Thanks for sharing as well, mate.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So do you think, devil's advocate, if you didn't go to the private school, you hadn't seen those things, what would have happened?
I think I would have got in with a really bad crowd because of the way that I was. Technically had ADHD, diagnosed at school. I don't really believe too much in labelling people with all of these different, mental parts of, because everyone's just individual. It's always a scale, right? Yes, I was a little bit hyperactive at school. So would that have led me with the wrong crowd of people to be, less successful, perhaps, if I wasn't exposed to the success of certain people in that school? Probably. Yeah. Like that's happening to a lot of children. Like a lot of people that I knew that went to other schools that were smart, they're not doing anything now like that is, it sounds bad, but worthwhile what they could have done.
Yeah.
Because they were in bad crowds. And they're still smart now, but they're smart and a bit depressed because they haven't made the most of it. Yeah. And when I got kicked out at 18, I was depressed for a while. Because I was like, my parents have struggled. I've been a little shit. And the wake-up moment is I've now been thrown out, asked to leave school, and I've not really got any qualifications, and my parents have broke themselves to do it. What am I going to do? So it was like 5 years until I'd started the Sole Supplier after that. It's a hard 5 years. Yeah.
So you went straight from school when you got kicked out into recruitment?
Straight from school, different jobs.
Right.
There's moments where my dad would see me walking up the high street, be like, what are you doing here? It's Tuesday afternoon. I'm like, I've quit that job. It's not for me. And it comes back to that, I knew there was something better for me.
Mate, that speaks to me so much. I mean, these are bad examples, but like even... I had a paper round at 12. Yeah. I worked in a chippy when I was 14. Yes. I worked, as a waiter in the restaurants and bars at 16, and behind the bar at 18. But I never really tried.
I was behind the bar at 18. At our local gym. Yeah.
Good times, mate. But I never really tried because, like you're saying, I knew there was something else that was further down the line. I wish I actually did apply myself a little bit more to those jobs. But so interesting, mate. So I think with that journey, there's obviously some standout things that you've seen, particularly you've seen certain kids' lifestyle at the private school. I wonder whether you start to formulate a strategy at some stage to go I want those things, material or otherwise, but I want those things. So how do I get them? Yeah, I was the guy selling CDs when we had LimeWire at school and Kazaa. For anyone that remembers LimeWire and Kazaa, I remember LimeWire.
Me and a good friend of mine, I won't mention his name because he might not want to be remembered for selling CDs, but we used to burn CDs, we used to have the external CD burners on our old Tower Evesham computers at home, and that was the hustle at school.
What was your most popular CD?
It was hip-hop albums, man, I think it was maybe Usher at the time, or just who else we listened to? The Nelly album, the old Country Grammar album. All of these times, they were good times. I was always into tech, which is what's led me to where I've got to now with the Sole Supplier, and why it's so tech-driven. It's over 60% of our team. It's I've always been technically minded from when I was younger. And again, if you ask me where that came from, it's just I've always just been a natural when it comes to tech. I can't really tell you why. And that's just something that's always been within me. Again, could it have come from my dad, who always said the internet's going to be the biggest thing? Focus on it. It can just be simple things like that. He always said to me, the internet. He said, I miss the mobile phone era. It's all about the internet. He said, don't miss it. And then you're just more switched on, right? As soon as you get that kind of, from someone that you trust and respect, you start looking more.
Yeah.
You pay more attention. Yeah.
It's that reticular activating system.
Yeah.
This, yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you hear a word that you haven't heard and then you start seeing it everywhere.
Exactly. The filter of the mind. Yeah, I love that. It's funny because my dad told me you'd be a great salesperson when I was like 12 or 13, and then I held on to it and became a salesperson. I was like, fuck, I wish he didn't say that.
What sales job did you do first?
The first sales job would have been...
What's a significant one that you...
Well, I went into tech sales. That was like my main one.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I sold gym memberships and...
Nice.
I sold everything really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sold everything.
Yeah, I'll sell anything.
Legal and illegal.
Listen, mate, I'd love to talk a little bit about kind of the central theme of this podcast, Take Flight, which is that leap of faith moment. There's probably a few with you, but the one I want to focus on to begin with at least is the moment from idea to actually acting on that.
Yeah.
I know you'd already been selling shoes and you'd been sort of dabbling in that, and then you'd created the blog.
Yeah.
So maybe we talk about starting the blog and then the point where it actually became a business.
Yeah. So there's a book called The Book of Entrepreneur's Wisdom, and for anyone that says don't read books because they're a source of inspiration. Google is a source of inspiration. Watching podcasts are a source of inspiration. Everyone needs inspiration because that is what can flick a switch in your mind to start something big. So for anyone that says don't read books, they're a waste of time. Get out there and experience life. Everyone needs experience, but read books. I used to read loads. And trust me now, if I hadn't read Tim Ferriss' The 4-Hour Work Week, The Entrepreneur's Wisdom, there's 2 or 3 things that would not have connected to have allowed me to start the Sole Supplier. Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week, was the affiliate model, which is how we make our money now. And the Book of Entrepreneur's Wisdom, the 4th or 5th chapter, I can't remember the exact chapter, it was, if you've got an idea and it's low risk and low cost, just start, just try. Because the biggest hurdle to starting a business is not starting. So many people have ideas and they don't start, right? So that just landed with me. And so it's a combination of inspiration that I had from reading different things and the motivation from my dad. And so I'd already tried different businesses before. So I was kind of used to setting things up, getting business cards, setting up a limited company, trying to put a website together. So I took that, and I already knew how to build a website, and I just started slowly. I was like, I can do this in the evening after I come home from recruitment. I can write the articles myself. I was quite good at English at school. Any teachers, if you're watching, I hope you back me up on that as well, right? But I wasn't too bad at English. I got an A in English at GCSE, so I had some writing skills. They weren't the best, but you learn. And then all my goal was to write content, post on Twitter, try and get the articles in Google. And I just did that constantly. Just simple formula.
Just to build audience.
That was it, just to build the audience, just to get people noticing what we're doing.
Yeah. And at this point, had you applied to the affiliate?
No.
Okay.
No, so that was like after 6 months of actually building a lot of good content.
Nice.
It wasn't about initially just how do I get money right now, because I'm getting money in recruitment. It's about how do I create great content, and it's still about that now. Now it's still about how do we create great content which the audience are going to love, they're going to get value from, and then how does the tech that we're developing, from the personalization to the marketplace to the app, how does that build on their experience, and how does it add value to them finding new products, to getting their shoes that are out of stock, to finding an outfit to match their shoes that's personal to them. So it's always about value first and the money comes later. Not in all businesses, not in certain types of sales businesses, but in this business they can smell a rat almost. If you're pushing shit that people don't really want for money, it's very easy to see. Yeah. So our team and what we do is stuff that we would wear and we would push. And that was what it was always about at the start, and that ethos has held.
Yeah. So give me an example of like a blog post that you'd write early days.
Yeah, so in the early days it would be Very simple stuff like, you know, here's the best 4 Huaraches right now. Or this Huarache, I used to review shoes on YouTube in the early days. So it'd be stuff like that. It just from my passion, I'd say, here's the new Huarache. This is what it looks like. This is when it's coming out. You can get all of the links for all of the retailers on the Sole Supplier. And then people would click through and see JD Sports, Nike, and that was it. And then one day, after 6 to 8 months, we had just started monetizing using the affiliate model. And for anyone that doesn't know, we get a commission from the retailer. So Nike will pay us anywhere, or Nike, Adidas, JD, they'll pay us anywhere from, say, 5% up to 15%. So for anyone that's got a blog and you're not using affiliate, it's a great way to monetize your content, and your audience don't pay any more. You just get a kickback from the retailers. So we had just started doing that. But after around 9 months, I got to the point where I was so fed up of working these ridiculous hours. My girlfriend at the time was like, you're not spending any time with me. You're coming home, you're at it at the morning, at it at night. My bosses at work were like, you're doing it whilst you're working. And I was like, I'm done with this. I wasn't drinking for 2 years as well. So I wasn't going to the gym. So I don't like to say the word burnout, but I was getting to that point where I was like, 9 months now, we're not making any money. We're getting some traffic, but we're not ranking in Google on page 1, we're struggling. And I was almost at that point of like, I've had enough. And then the triple black Huarache got to number 1. Number 1, first result in Google, above JD Sports. And they slightly hated on that.
So was that in the UK?
That was in the UK, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Using the same like formula you'd use for all the blogs
using
until
the
then?
same formula, you know, just getting the right keywords in the content, making sure you're getting it across social so you get the proof, and then people were sharing it because we had so many good links to retailers, and then it ranked. And then all of a sudden, when you start getting 1 or 2 good rankings from Google, you'll get more. And that was it. I mean, the day that happened, the traffic just started going like that. I think we made like £3,000 in one day from the Huarache. I remember saying, Mum, look at this. Like 7 years ago, Mum, look. I was like, look, I run downstairs. I was like, look, we've done it. Oh. And I remember my dad was still like, nah, you haven't done it. He was a bit disbelieving. He was like, because he had had such a hard time in life, he didn't want for him to see that level of money come in one day. It's almost like disbelief. The power of the internet, it's real. And it took so long for him to believe. It took so many moments like that where the content that we was putting out was working and the money was coming in from commissions before my dad actually went, wow, shit, this is real, isn't it? And I said, yeah, I'm leaving my full-time job after a year and a half. And it's just, I'm getting back into it. It's crazy, man, how it all happened. And now you can almost get to a point where you take it for granted. Yeah. 7 years in, and now we're at like 5.5, 6 million revenue. We've got 50 people in the Shoreditch office. We've got massive growth plans for the tech team. And just reliving this in my head, it's like, it's almost like it's normal now. This is what we do. We take risks, we grow, we have a plan, you know?
Well, yeah, the more you do it, that becomes the new normal.
Yeah.
What did it mean to you that day where, because you'd waited 9 months and then you had that day, you say you made £3,000 in a day from that?
Yeah, it was £3,000 or more. Yeah. I mean, it was significant.
So what did it mean? Was that like, shit, we've done it and now we know how to do it, or?
Yeah, it was the formula that I knew should worked. It just, and then it was exponential on when that happened. You know, the Twitter channel grew exponentially because more people were finding us through Google, and there was low competition at the time. So there's a good book called, again, books, right? I bring it back to books, but it's called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah. And he talks a lot about timing of an idea. If we tried to start the Sole Supplier now, you would need a shit ton of cash to bring it to where it needs to be to compete. But at the time, we were one of 2 or 3 people doing it. Yeah. So it was easier to get rankings, you know. But now it's heavily saturated because the sneaker industry is just going like this, and everyone wants a piece. And luckily now we're at the forefront. But it just timing and hard work. It's always I'm sure you've heard that before.
Oh, mate. I mean, I relate myself. There's moments when I reflect back on what I did with this podcast and I didn't make decisions quick enough. It would have been 10 times bigger if I'd have... I felt that the output and the content alone would do it.
Yes.
And it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
I felt like...
But that's a good inner confidence as well, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah, maybe too much so.
Too much so.
Mate, I'd love to just make some observations and you can tell me like if I'm on the right lines, right? So so it sounded like the moment when, because a lot of people listening to this will be having their own ideas and perhaps they haven't taken action, maybe they have and they're early on that journey. But when you went from ideation to action, you had the idea for the website and then actually acted on it, created the blog and started posting blogs. Because you'd started so many businesses or tried these things in the past, it didn't feel like a leap. It was kind of a little bit more normal, or at least it didn't feel as difficult as it might have done for the first time you tried something. Yeah. So that was felt a little bit easier.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you what the businesses were as well. There was one called Explore My Property. I bought a camera. I thought I could use a camera. Like I've always been of this mindset, right? If someone else can do something, and I mean, when you said you were playing football, that's one thing I don't think I can do for shit. As in, like, I cannot kick a ball at all, right? So don't ask me about football or ask me to play. We've got a football team at our work and they go and play at goals. I'm always like, next time. But otherwise, most things, you know, like, I think there's no reason why if I put my mind to it, I can't do it. With time, discipline and focus, and I just think that's how most people should think. Like, there's no reason why most people can't do things with the right learnings and discipline and time. And I sometimes hate that saying of have patience. Gary Vee says it. Patience. I mean, you need patience to some extent, but you also need urgency. Yeah. You know, like if you want to get good at something, you want to be obsessive about it and go hard at it. Yeah. So that's always been something. So when I started the Explore My Property, I was just, I'm going to buy a camera with some of the money I've made. I'm going to learn how to use it, and then I'm going to buy a gimbal and start filming people's properties to do property videos. And then I realised that I needed a sales arm, I needed to be cold calling, it wasn't a business that could run, not passively, but I needed to be on it all day almost. Yeah. I need to be there filming, I need to be calling people. Whereas the Sole Supplier could work whilst I was at work because the website was ticking over. So that's the beauty of online businesses, right? It's the beauty of anything like crypto or affiliate businesses or blogs, or they're making money while you sleep almost. Yeah. People are reading the content when you're in bed. They're reading it from Asia or the US. But, you know, you're not trading your time for money. You're kind of you're putting in the time. Yeah. And then it can keep coming back. It's evergreen.
Like legacy, evergreen, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, because the marketing strategy that you employed was obviously worked. It took 9 months, but it worked, and it's still what you use now. How did you learn how to do that?
The Google side of things, I worked. My second ever job was in an SEO agency. Okay. And I sold SEO. So like yourself, I've been a salesman in different, and I loved that job. I learned a lot about SEO, and I learned about the power of ranking in Google, and I learned a lot technically. Because whilst I want to sell it the best, right? I want to know everything. Yeah. I want to tell the clients exactly how this works. So that was how that started.
You know, it's so interesting because I found I've even seen it myself today. It's opened my eyes to how long it's taken me to do this. But something I see a lot of people struggle with who aren't living the life that they want to live is a fear of getting out there and learning the thing. Whatever that fear comes down to, I'm not entirely sure, but I can see it myself. Why didn't I buy a good camera 4 years ago when I started the podcast and immediately started putting it on YouTube? I only started doing it a year ago. Yes. Like, why did I take so long to do that? And it was almost like I didn't want to have to take the time to learn it, which is strange because I did take my time to learn the audio side of it, but I just recognise with some people who aren't doing things, it's almost like a reluctance to get into the weeds and learn. So how could you almost advise people, given what you've done, just to get stuck in and learn it?
Yeah, I suffer from this a little bit now, but I think that's because there's so much that I'm doing, that so much we've got to focus on now. My problem now is having the time to learn new things. So I think people will not sacrifice their time to learn or their money. So when I first started, or before I started this business, there was always a portion of my commission from any sales job where I would invest it into courses, books, or going to see talks, right? I would always invest in things to help me learn. And again, it can spark inspiration. I think that, and then I would stop drinking, I would stop going out. I'd tell my girlfriend, like, we're not going on holiday, or we're not, you know, like, and she understood at the time, but I don't like to say, because now I've built a business where I don't need to sacrifice as much, because you should be able to build a business that works well, that runs well for the audience, for your staff, and financially for you. I mean, you shouldn't be a business of like 6-7 million revenue and be still breaking yourself if you're self-invested, right? You shouldn't be 7 years in and still be really sacrificing everything, because that's just not what we're doing it for to some extent. But I did do that at the start. There was like, that's what you've got to do.
Did you need to do that?
You need to do that, yeah. Because how are you going to get the competitive edge on other people, especially if you don't have support, if you don't have investment, which we don't. We've never had investment. And it's not to say we're not looking at it for some tech products, but at the time, all you've got is your own money and your own time. And if you spend your time and money partying, buying clothes, going on holidays, going to dinner with your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever it is, then that business is not going to happen. Or it might happen, but it might not succeed. And I realised that early, and I sacrificed early. Don't get me wrong, we've celebrated over the years. But for the last 10 years, now I'm 31, since I was 20, I've been sober for 5 years of that. Throughout 5 to 6 years of that. Because it's just so much more productive. You can just get so much done. You've got so much more time. And then, like you say, you can learn more because you can obsess more. You know, if you're feeling hungover, the last thing you want to do is like study. It's difficult. Yeah.
It's so true, mate. Amazing words, and people will take huge inspiration from that. Myself included. Like sometimes it's easy to say I haven't got time to learn it.
Yeah. I
say this, I'm right in the middle of a course at the minute. Like, I love it. But
what is it you're doing?
Neuro coaching. Okay. So adding to my existing.
You say neuro coaching? Like NLP?
It's beyond. It's like neuroscience.
Okay.
For human behaviour.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It literally explains why everybody does everything.
Nice. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it's cool, mate. It's going to be a nice complement to the business coaching. I already do transformational coaching work, but this explains why people are actually doing the things that are causing them to need to transform.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like a 9-month course. But I've spoken with brain surgeons, I've spoken with experts in all sorts of different fields, and they all know that education is key. It's what keeps the brain alive, and it's what, when people retire, they get old and they age really quickly because they're not applying their brain anymore. And
I've seen it, man.
Yeah.
I've seen it firsthand. Yeah.
So I want to talk about those 9 months again, right? It's really hard when you're so passionate about something, you love something, you're putting your all into it, you're making those sacrifices, and it doesn't seem like it's working, especially if there's a so-called proven formula with the Google ads in particular. What was it like in those moments when it was feeling like it wasn't working? And how did you get past that?
It was... You know, I would say it was a very short period of time where I was almost ready to give up. Because for the rest of the time, I was just buzzing to do it. But then there was a moment it got to when I was like, for probably like a week or two, it was literally this quick. That's why I had to pause to think about that, because it wasn't like I was there for like 6 months going, oh, this is so difficult, blah, blah, blah. Because I was so obsessed and committed that didn't even come into my mind. I was like, this is it. I'm gonna smash this. But that realization moment of like, actually, it crept in. And then, I mean, this is just the universe sometimes, man. You got to believe in this stuff, because that inner conviction sometimes, there were so many moments in the early days where just the universe would deliver little bits of info which would keep me going. There'd be like an email from, say, JD Sports, who would say, we'd really love to partner with you, or Foot Asylum in the early days. I mean, this was like a year in, where it was like, we'd love you to film an unboxing for us. And there's all these small bits of confirmation that at the times when your kind of conviction's waning a little bit, you get that nugget of, oh, that's amazing. And just before the Hirachi thing, that was when I was at this real place for a week, let's say, a week or two max. And then the Hirachi blew up. So it wasn't like it was going on for a long time. And then from that moment, it was on. I never looked back. So, because, yeah, I think if that had gone on for a lot longer, I would have started going, because you can't keep an idea going for too long if it's not working.
Yeah.
You need to go, right, we need to move on now, or we need to adjust, or we need to look at something else.
Yeah, the adapt or die.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's such a balancing act, though, isn't it? What was the conversation in your head when it was like, I think that 1 or 2 weeks when I'm thinking I might quit this now?
Yeah.
Like, how did that go back and forth?
Well, it's a question of, I must be doing something wrong with Google. But more so, if you bring it back to financials, it was like, I can't go back. It was that like devil and the angel on the shoulder. I can't go back. I don't want to go back. I want to be my own man. I think that's just within some people, right? You don't want to be held down. You don't want to be... That was what was going on in my head. And that was what was always stopping me from ever really giving up. Yeah. You want to be your own man. And the crazy thing is, I love the people that I worked with. Shout out Ben and Jim and Larry at Networkers, where I used to work, because it was the one job I found that I loved. So how crazy is that? I hated all the jobs that I had up until I was like 23, 24. And when I've actually got to leave, when the Sole Supplier starts doing well, I'm like, oh, this is a real shame. I'm still friends with them to this day as well. Nice. And that says everything to me. But yeah, the point is, for me, I never wanted to work for somebody else, really. And that kept me going. But at the same time, I was still thinking, what can I do next? I need to do something else. I would have just gone back to the drawing board, kept making money in recruitment, and found something else.
What would have been something different to Sole Supplier?
Something different to Sole Supplier, potentially. Yeah. But the point is, I knew I loved tech and footwear so much that this match made in heaven, I was like, how can this not work? It must work. And literally 2 weeks, Hirachi, yes. It was crazy, man. It was such a quick turnaround. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love it, mate. That's so amazing to hear. Yeah, I have those moments, and even this week I was like, should I get a proper job again? Yeah. I say it out loud to my missus literally this week, but it only lasts in my mind for a minute or two. Yeah. And then I'm like, there's no way I'm leaving this behind. So then you go back to solutionizing. Yeah. Right. So what's going wrong then? Yeah. Why isn't it where I want it to be? Yeah. Let's figure it out. Do I need help from somebody else? Do I need more money to invest in things? Like,
do you look at things all the time and see problems that you can solve?
Yeah, and then it never stops.
I have this problem now where it's like, me and some of us in the team especially, we have this thing we see and we're like, we're fully invested right now. We're spending a lot of money that we've got in the bank to invest in the tech, because we're building the marketplace, which is for buyers and sellers, because we know that we can take a good share of the reselling marketplace. So we're putting all of our cash into building that, and it's very close to being a good product. And that means we can't spend on any of these other ideas. There's gaps in the market for everything, man. Like I say to anyone, if you look close enough at a market, for instance, look at the gym app market and tell me that you can't find things that could be better in those gym apps. Like one of them being Strong app. I love Strong app. So Strong app, you ever see this? I love your app. I use it every day. I've got about 6 ideas where you could make so much more money using this app if you implement these features. It's like you see things like that, you're like, oh, I wish I could create that. But this is another thing I've learned. In the early days, I tried to spread myself too thin and start other businesses, and then the Sole Supplier would suffer. For instance, we started an app, And this was basically my mum's idea. She was like, I'm fed up with getting on the train, and she works for us now, but she used to get on the train to London, and she used to be a legal secretary, and she used to be like, I'm fed up with the trains being delayed, and I need to get money back from them because I'm getting pissed off with the trains. I was like, all right, we'll create an app for train refunds. It was called Trains from Hell. And this was about 2 years into the Sole Supplier. So we had money from the Sole Supplier, had maybe 5 or 6 people working in the Sole Supplier. And I got this created by an agency. And then all of a sudden I realised I've got this good app, and now I don't have anyone to help me promote. I don't have a marketing plan. I'm not really a marketing pro. I'm struggling to use the same methods that I've used for the Sole Supplier. And because we're growing fast for the Sole Supplier, I need to focus on that. So after a while, we had quite a lot of users on Trains from Hell, but I made the decision to get rid of it because I couldn't dedicate what I needed to, and the Sole Supplier was probably not failing, but it wasn't doing as well as it could because I was trying to spread myself between those two things.
It's the old, like, dig 1 hole a mile deep or 1,000 holes an inch deep.
Yeah.
I don't know if that maths works out, but
just about
the metaphor, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see, like, I speak to a lot of people that I meet out, and I think of many, like, entrepreneurial mindset people, they have that problem where it's like, but then again, my dad said to me, he said, well, you know, what's got more potential? Just focus on that. It's very simple. He said, stop letting your ego get in the way by creating new ideas. He said, it's great to have ideas, but where's the money at? Where's the future? Sole Supplier. And so that was what we focused on. I haven't really done that since, unless it's a product within the Sole Supplier.
So how do you stop letting your ego get in the way?
Hey, it's a constant thing that anyone in business should be trying to work on. People say I'm a nice guy. People say I'm humble, right? People always say to me, you haven't changed since you've grown the Sole Supplier. Like, my best friends, my family, and I love them for that. And I always look after my people around me. And that translates into the business. We've got such good staff retention over the last 5-6 years. I can probably only count 3 people that have left. And I treat people the way I would want to be treated. Like, I used to work at shit places that I hated the boss, I hated the team, I hated the people they'd hire, I hated their values. Hate's a strong word, but I didn't like it. So we focus very much on cultivating that. And I think I've gone off track. What was the original question was...
How do you keep your ego in check?
How do you keep your ego in check? Yeah, well, it comes back to that, treating people how you would want to be treated. But self-awareness is everything, man. Like, I meditate. I did meditate every day. I haven't done it as much recently. I'm very introspective. I'm always looking at how can I improve myself? How can I get better in my mind, in the gym, how I treat people.
Can I ask you a question about social media?
I don't use it.
Well, this is the thing, right?
Really?
So
Unless for work.
Firstly, that's what I liked about you, having not even met you, but just seeing the things that you're talking about online at the time when we first spoke, and recognised and picked up on that straight away. I'd be fascinated to know the meditation that you do as well, but what's stopped you? Because you went through a period where you were posting a lot of particularly personal development stuff online, and then you've not been on Instagram for a couple of years? Yeah, since around July 2020. I think the growth of the business meant that I had to be the CEO, and still am, and like be that guy that manages the energy, hires the right people. And I was spending so much time trying to grow the personal side of the brand with the business to tell the story that it was taken away from the duties that I should be doing to really like empower and grow the team and keep people on board. You know, if the CEO's running around trying to build his personal brand, I mean, it's all about him to some extent. And I'm not going to name names, but I've seen that across the board. And that, for me, degrades your team a little bit. It's like, how do we build the company and therefore the team? So our strategy now is with our content is you'll see like 10 or 15 different faces on the content across the business. But don't get me wrong, I do still love to post here or there on LinkedIn, but I just think a lot of social can be quite toxic to people's mindsets. I think it's a place to create and put stuff out,
but I'd say it's very dangerous to consume it too much.
And I shared something literally this morning about, I mean, it was a 60-second video, but about how attention is the modern day currency.
Yeah.
And what are people prepared to do in order to get that attention?
Yeah.
And ultimately, what are you doing when you're trying to scream and get attention and grab attention is that you want a validation, which leads to acceptance. You want an acceptance because from our DNA and biology, acceptance meant access to resource in the tribe. You get
Yes.
access to the tribe. And what does that mean? That means that you have a higher chance of survival. So as crazy as that sounds, when people are posting stuff, whether they believe it or not, it comes
hoping
back
for
to
acceptance.
Acceptance.
Yeah.
And they're not like...
They want that little dopamine kick
Yeah.
from the likes.
Exactly.
You know,
And
and
it's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
So do you feel better from not being on it?
I tell you what, I think that I'm not as resilient as I should be to be on there. And I think I'm very resilient in a lot of ways with my mindset, in the way that I handle like things with work and discipline and learning. But when it comes to social, there's just something about it for me. And I know what I'm doing with it with work, but when it comes to personal, it's a whole different matter. I kind of like to keep my private life private, you know?
Mate, that's incredibly honest of you to say that, by the way.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're on your own.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's resilient enough to deal with social media.
Yeah.
We're fighting against our inbuilt biology.
Yeah.
The people who create these apps, psychologists, create them so we get addicted to them. That's
Oh,
literally
exactly,
why
you
it's
know.
done. So
If you've read the book Hooked,
yeah, I had him on the podcast, Nir Eyal.
Nir Eyal, yeah. What a great guy.
Great guy, yeah.
Yeah, and that book tells you everything you need to know about how you're hooked into social.
Scary.
And how to build addictive apps. So you're so right. And for anyone that says that they're not bothered by their own personal socials, and yeah, you can be resilient and you won't mind, you won't read the comments, you won't do this, you won't do that. Well, I don't know, that's a very rare few that won't ponder on some of the comments and just think about it after. It's the mind share that it takes up. I don't use WhatsApp for this reason because I don't believe in the psychology behind being online and read and unread.
Instant chat.
Because
you don't use WhatsApp at all?
I don't use WhatsApp at all, haven't for 2 years.
So what, people just send you a text message?
Yeah, if you're my friend, you're sending me a text message.
Love that.
If you're on Android, you're sending me a picture message. It's costing you 40p or it's costing me.
Yeah.
Like, as in, I've got my real friends and they have been for a long time, but that's besides the point. But WhatsApp, again, it's like, it's dangerous because people, without realising, they give these micro judgments of like, oh, read my message, clearly doesn't care as much about me today. Oh, he's online. Oh, you've read my message and you're online. Or if you've got read receipts turned off and you can see the person's online. Oh, if it's for your friends, that's one level. If it's in a relationship and, you know, your girl's online, she's read your message, you're like, why are you not replying or whatever? It's just like, this is not a level of mind share that we need.
No.
As human beings, we need to cultivate peace.
Do you know Mo Gawdat?
Mo Gawdat, yeah. What's his book
Soul
called?
for Happy.
Yes.
An equation which,
yes.
if we simplify it, basically says that happiness equals expectation, or like
Yeah.
our expectation level impacts happiness drastically. So
Yes.
that's setting an expectation level
Exactly.
with a 2-tick, no
Yes.
reply, that I don't like you.
Yeah.
You know, judgment and criticism.
Yeah.
But like the thing I'd love to know more about is like, when did you notice that and when did you make the changes? Because I think I'm thinking to myself now, would I be able to do that?
Yeah. Well, I would say this personal social thing is the biggest conflict I've had in my head for a long time because I know the power of storytelling for our business. So I do a bit on LinkedIn and we go hard on social for the Sole Supplier and the Sole Women's. And, you know, what have we got? Like over 2 million followers across the platforms for the business. And I love it for that. But personally, I've tried it on and off for a few years. And put it this way, I hadn't posted to Instagram, but I posted at the weekend after 2 years.
On Instagram?
Yeah, I posted on
you?
Instagram a picture of us out. A couple of us that were out, we'd had a good day. I said, it's been too long. And then what I found myself doing was, for the next like 24 hours, I was just wondering, how many likes has that photo got? I wonder how many comments it's got. And it got loads of like positive feedback and stuff like, George, where have you been? Blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, oh, I could post again. Like, what can I post next? And then I'm like, straight away, you're like back into this zone of of mind share of like, has it got likes? I mean,
It's a slot machine.
Yeah,
a
for
slot
anyone
machine.
that can just turn that off, if you can just post and not care, that's a different matter, but it's very tricky.
See, I spoke with a friend of mine called David Birtwistle. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He was on Too Hot to Handle, the Netflix series. He talked to me about something called ghost posting. So you post and then you just don't go on.
Yeah.
But it's so hard.
Yeah.
The irony this morning, I posted that video about attention.
Yeah.
It got loads of attention. And then I kept going on it all morning.
Yeah.
So it's like, how
So
do you...
your own post about attention, you were the one paying attention.
yeah, far too much paying attention to my own video.
And I'm sure everyone does that, but it's, you know what algorithm I love the most is YouTube. I get so much value from YouTube. Like at home, if I'm going to put something on the TV, if I've got some time to watch something, I'll just go on YouTube.
Yeah,
I've
me
got
too.
all my fitness stuff. I've got interesting podcasts. I've got basically just a whole bunch of like cool, inspiring stuff on there. And I'm like, thank you, YouTube. You are providing a good, valuable algorithm. But Instagram's not like that. The Explore feed for me in Instagram is just full of like low-level material shit that I don't want to see. It doesn't build us up to be better human beings. It builds us down to compare ourselves to others and make us more conscious about ourselves. It's a lot of the time, unless you've cultivated your algorithm in the correct way, which can be very hard. Yeah.
There's another concept that someone spoke to me about. He said, who owns your nostalgia? Who owns your nostalgia? So what a weird thing we do as a generation, that our histories from content is like splashed all over somebody else's platform, which they own the content. Yeah. So our lives are just left.
And even
on
iCloud, right? Look at all these photos we've got in iCloud, and it's like we don't print stuff out anymore. So my mum and dad have got boxes of photos from all these years ago. Then there's this whole period where it's like, when we look back, if you lose that access, what have you got? You've got no memories, no nostalgia.
Yeah. My wife and I have just started doing, each year, it's going to be like a New Year thing. We did it this year. Creating one of them photo books. So you go through the last year
We've
of
done
the
some of
photos
that.
and put, that's great, man. And then you can have every year and you can reflect on all the good times.
Just bring a disposable camera out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what we're trying to do now with the Sole Supplier especially is, as well as build this site that, because this is what I truly believe, right? Even though we're marketing material items, I love these material items.
Yeah.
I love wearing trainers and nice items, you know, like you do, right?
Yeah.
It makes you feel good. When you wear a good outfit, it makes you feel good. So everything we're trying to do with the content and the tech is to help people get themselves to feel better. Because when your hair looks good and your outfit looks good, you're going to feel more confident, most likely, and you're going to do better with your day. That's like at a basic level. So that's what the goal is. That's the kind of I would say like the intrinsic mission. But something I do really want to do is, and what we're about to start doing, is educating people better with their finances. Because what you find is with Gen Z especially, they're driven by such hype culture that they will be buying products mindlessly to such an extent that they will spend all of their money without thinking about their finances first, without thinking about, can they buy a property? Should they be saving for X? Should they be, you know, it's this thing of like, just get items and keep them and stunt.
Yeah.
And for me, that's like something I am on a mission to basically help people to understand better.
Yeah.
Because it's what helped me. That financial education, like yourself, right? If you understand money and how to look after it, that level of security and happiness that you're going to have, it's just, life becomes better. Yeah.
Man, I'd love to help you with that mission if I can.
Yeah.
If we can go around and do some talks and workshops.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've just had a conversation with two guys as well who are from St James's Place, wealth management, and they're on a mission to do similar.
Used to sell them tech.
Yeah.
He used to sell them
There
technology.
you go. Which St James's Place are a massive wealth management company.
Yeah.
And there's two guys there that, again, we're going to talk. So I think it's really important because you're not taught this shit at school. At school, they don't tell you how to look after your money.
Do you know what I had? There was one person who came into our sixth form, and it was a lunchtime thing, which I was never usually in, like the building block at lunchtime, but he was talking about credit cards, and it's the only financial education I ever had, and it was one sentence, and I just held on to it, where he basically explains what happens with interest.
Yes.
So I've never had a credit card, still never to this day.
Yeah.
And it was the only thing, and it was like a chance that I just happened to be there that day, and I heard him talk about it, and my mind was blown. I was like, what do you mean they charge me more money?
Yeah.
So I've never had a credit card, but yeah, it should be something that's basic.
It's the ultimate trick, right? It's the ultimate trick by the system. Get a credit card, build your credit. Oh, by the way, we're not going to educate you really on how it works, but it'll build your credit so you can get more stuff. And then people are like, oh, now I'm in debt. Yeah. Now I can't pay my credit card back. Now I need to get another credit card. And then they're getting a payday loan. And it's like, don't get me started on the system, man.
Yeah.
I have so much bad stuff to say about the system. But
we could do another whole episode on that.
We could.
I would love to hear more about month 9 to year 7. Some of the peaks, some of the troughs during that period, and how it became the 50-person business that it is today. Yeah, so I say, like, a quick summary. We've gone from being in parents' spare bedroom to this office in Shoreditch, where we've now got these 50 staff, 50 world-class, talented people that I love to work with. Like, I'll go out with them for a drink, for dinner, and I'll have a nice time with them, which, when I used to work in jobs, I used to go for lunch on my own because I didn't really like some of the people, like that. So that's like a bit of a summary of the people growth. And we've gone from basically just a blog to a tech-powered content site. So we're a search and comparison engine that personalizes to you, and we serve content on top of that. So that's been the massive change, where we've gone from just like a content-driven site to this tech-powered search and comparison engine, which just helps you find everything you need. So we sit above any retailer. We don't want you to go anywhere else first. Just come to the Sole Supplier if you want your new shoes, and you'll find all of the best shoes from all of the best retailers. That is the overall mission now, and we're taking that worldwide. And this is just the beginning. So that's where we've got to, whereas before it was just, we show you where to get the Huarache in the UK right now with a blog post. So that's the development of that. 2 things I want to say about, like, kind of some pivotal moments. One was the first app we built. And so right now, and I have to drop this because I'm proud of these guys, like the app team and the acquisition team are getting a 12x return on ad spend with the app right now. But there was a time where we had to completely throw away the first app that we built because the UX UI was so bad. But this is what you get from trying things, right? User experience. Yeah, the user experience. And I built this app with a company, spent around 35 grand on it after 2.5 years in business. And I think we had around 140 grand in the bank at the time. And I mean, this is my own financial management. It was 35, 40 grand, probably like 30% of what we had in the bank. A little bit risky, and the app didn't work. It failed pretty badly. And we had to dismiss that app. And then what did I do? I tried to build a marketplace app about a year later. So this was like, we were one of the first marketplace apps before StockX, before Collect. And what happened? We realised that we didn't have the resources to accommodate all of the sales that were coming in. The marketplace app cost around 80 grand to build. And we had to, again, kick that to the curb because we just weren't able to hire the team that we needed to support it. But what did I learn from those 2 things? I learned so much about user experience. I learned so much about how to manage costs when it comes to building apps. I learned so much about what it takes to, when you have an idea within your business, how you need to plan for the resources and the post idea. Not just get the idea out. It's what happens after that that makes it work. And financial planning. So even though we lost a lot of money across those 2 apps, I'm glad that we did it because we learned a hell of a lot in the process. And I'm glad that we didn't do it later on and learn, So that they were 2 really important things. That's huge, man, because anyone would look at that and say 2 failures. Yeah, 2 failures, yeah. Expensive failures. Expensive within the business, But big chunks of cash just being like thrown away almost. Yeah. Not thrown away, but you're paying to learn. But what has it allowed you to do now?
it's allowed us to build this app that's getting us a 12x return on ad spend. The app works so well for people, you know, they absolutely love it, and it's only getting better. Like, some of the ideas we've got for the app to improve it for people are just, for instance, we've got a tool called the PIG, which is the Product Information Gatherer. And this is some of our in-house proprietary tech. And it scans all different websites, it looks for new products, and it can find them within seconds. And now what we can do with the app is, you saved your size, we can tell you exactly when that shoe in your size is back in stock within seconds of it coming back on the retailer's website. You'll get the notification, you'll be able to buy. In the future, we may even be able to check out automatically. So all you need to do is just say, I want a size 7, bang, it's bought for you. You've got it.
Too easy.
You wouldn't even have to do anything. So these are the sort of things that are coming, and it's like, again, just that love of tech is exciting. But it didn't used to be like that. And we've got people like Maya, our head of growth, you know, Jorge and Sam in the iOS team that are helping power these ideas. And looking at the metrics and looking, how can we improve this for this type of audience, and how can we improve this for this segment? So, yeah.
You got a huge amount of gratitude for the people who have helped you get to where you are. How's your role changed from day dot to today?
Well, we have this thing called red, blue, black, which is red are your kind of admin tasks, black are your future money-making tasks, and blue are your tasks that make you money now. I was doing all of the blue at one time. I was doing all of the stuff that made us money now, writing content, putting out Twitter posts. And now a lot of my role is on the black tasks. I have to think in the future. It's kind of like Jeff Bezos says. He always says, if any of his senior team are not thinking in the future, they shouldn't be in the senior team. I want them 2 years ahead. I mean, we're not that far ahead. But a high percentage of the senior team's tasks, for instance, will be black tasks, which are focused on future money makers. So that's how my role's changed massively. And you can get to a point where you think, when things are running so well and you've got such a great team of supportive, humble, nice people working hard, anyone should be made redundant in their role. If your team below you are that good, they should be putting you out of a job. I know it sounds mad, but that's what should be happening. So to some extent, there have been a couple of times in this business where stuff's been handled so well and we were so on track that I've been like, what do I do next?
But that's good leadership.
I guess so, yeah. But it's also a feeling of purpose. Everyone wants that. It can be a scary place to be, but also a good place because I like to be busy.
Is this your purpose?
Yeah. It's really important.
How do you know it's your purpose?
My purpose is more to, over the next 10 years, how many people can we help and support? How many people can we make feel good? How many people can we educate to live better lives? And if that starts off with like making them feel good with what they're wearing, and then it develops into financial education and other such things, that's my legacy. But also, it's looking after my family. I do that, and I make sure I look after my friends and the people in the business. I'm not one of these owners that wants it all. We make sure that people are getting paid well, they've got good opportunities, and they're looked after. Because if I sell this business in the future, whenever that is, however many years away, I want to walk away and know that everyone was looked after and they're happy. Because I won't be able to sleep easy, you know? I'm not ruthless. I'm not that ruthlessly hearted person. If my people aren't happy, I'm not happy. So I stress over that, Mark, like all the time. Are the people happy? Are they getting what they need? Are we giving them enough opportunity? Like, it's the one thing that plagues me the most.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you know when they are happy?
Instinct is a big thing for me. Instinct, sense checks with people, and they're very open. I get info, they tell me. I hear things, they just let me know. People say, look, I've heard this in the team, I think we need to address it. We're very open and we're very... People want the environment to stay the way it is. So if there's something going on, it gets spoken about and we address it. Yeah.
That's really great, man. Nice. The open door policy.
The open door policy, yeah, but it's not as easy as just saying I'm open, come to me. It's like, it has to be seen. Yeah.
Because people say that and then you tell them something, they get pissed off.
Yeah.
And then that's your experience. You've gone, okay, I'm not going to say something next time.
Yeah. Yeah, or if someone tells you something and then you go to somebody else in the team and you bring it up, and you handle it in the wrong way, that person thinks, I'm not going to tell you that again because you've already handled that in a way that's made me look bad. There's ways to do things, but culture for us is everything. It's like I say, building a place where I wanted to work back in the day. That's what we're trying to do here. It's not always easy. There's people that we've had to let go of. In a team of good eggs, if a bad egg joins, they're going to be spotted. That's the other problem. If you built a team of like world-class people and you bring in someone with a bad attitude, they're going to be found out quickly. I guess it's a good thing, but it's like you have to make these decisions quickly, and that is hard.
But you attract the right people when you do that. What else do you struggle with?
What else do I struggle with? I struggle with consistency sometimes. I think personally for me it's about like I've got this high level of I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so when it comes to like work or training or lifestyle, it's like I'm always trying to achieve this sometimes maybe unattainable state. So for me, I struggle with, I always want to eat healthy. So I have like my meal prep stuff that I order. I always want to train right. I always want to treat my family right. I always want to, it's almost like my own 10 commandments, the new 10 commandments. And if I don't do them, I can beat myself up a little bit. Yeah. And it's just unnecessary because actually things are just fine. Yeah. I struggle with consistency in that sense. Yeah.
Almost like the allowing of if it isn't matching up to your perfect vision for yourself.
That's what you said, expectation equals happiness.
Yeah.
It is that. If you have high expectations for yourself, which I think most people should. Should most people? Yeah, they should, yeah. I think everyone should be trying to work to be a better version of themselves. And that expectation can sometimes cause unhappiness if you're not consistent. Yeah. But it also inspires others around you. There's a lot of people in the team that will say, like, what books have you read? Or, you know, I love the way that you said that. Or this was really helpful when... And sometimes I don't realise, but when you're trying to be that person, that energy can inspire, and then it's like the butterfly effect. Yeah. And it has that effect on someone else, and they inspire somebody else, you know? So I think it's a good thing to strive for. Yeah.
No, I feel that. I feel the energy, mate. I feel the energy. What has been, if you could pick one, a standout highlight of the journey so far?
That is a good question. So I'm going to shout out Dan, who's my best friend, and he works with us. He's been my best friend of 25 years, and we had a shared office space in Woolwich in South London. Woolwich is meant to be the next creative hub. I don't see it yet. I lived there for 4 years. I've grown up around that area. It's not the best, right? But anyway, Woolwich is meant to be the next Shoreditch. Let's give it 10 years and we'll see. So I lived there. We got an office there. And then there was a unit that came up for sale. And this was maybe like 3.5 years in. So we had been saving some money in the business account. And I decided, you know what? This unit looks like we could really do something good with this unit and make it a creative hub in Woolwich. And there's space for like 30 people in there. But we needed to refurbish it. It was going to cost around 300 grand to refurbish. So we would have had to take out asset finance to get the refurb done and put money down for the mortgage. So a deposit on the asset finance and probably like 150, 200 grand down on the mortgage. And again, like the business bank could not really accommodate this. I think we had like 300, 400 grand. So it was probably like over 60% of what we had. But we knew that if we made this creative hub what it was, that we could attract the right talent and it would be a great place to work. It had high ceilings, like really cool space with a big open brick wall, like moss sign. Like we got it all designed up. And then I said, Dan, do you know what? I think this risk for me, even though I'm a very risk-tolerant person, this is like really dangerous. I said, this is like this could break the business if this doesn't work. And he was like, encouraged me in the right way. He made me see sense. And I went back and forward on it for a week or two. I was like, I can't do this. I can do this. I can't do this. And I got some clarity, and I just said, you're right, Dan. We are going to do this, because what else are we going to do right now? We're going to create the best creative space in Woolwich. And I could show you pictures of it, man. It was a great place to work. We had this massive LED sign behind a moss wall, brick slips, all modern furniture. Again, we got the asset finance, which was like 350 grand. They lent us the money and they refurbed it. Shout out Third Way, who refurbed it. Amazing design and construction company. And Tribe Furniture, who fitted it out. Honestly, they killed it. And we attracted some of the best talent. And we were in there for 3.5 years. And we filled that office out with around 30 people by the time we left. And we sold it around a year ago now. And for me, it paid off. And it really did work. But I was very under pressure when I did that. And it was very worrying for the first year. But I think that's the kind of beauty of business. It's you build money in the bank, and you should be spending it in your business. You should be reinvesting it. Yeah, and I look back, and actually it wasn't quite the right decision in terms of how we did it, how we financed it, how we bought the unit. Even though we made some money on that unit, financially I didn't set that up right because I was inexperienced. I wouldn't have done it in that way now. But in terms of what it did for the business, it was everything. So that was really pivotal, and that changed everything.
Sounds amazing. I remember seeing the images online. It looked great with the moss wall and the soul in the light.
Yeah.
Is there anything you regret from the journey, or anything you'd change?
You know, I'd wish, like, I've always had mentors and good people that I've worked with, but I wish that I'd had a few more earlier. You know, because your network and the people that you surround yourself are everything. And I learned a lot from some great people throughout this journey. And it's only now that I realised the absolute power of having those people around constantly. It can make you or break you, right? And if you've got a dangerous friendship circle, in the sense of, you know, maybe they're partying too much, or they're not that ambitious themselves, it doesn't mean they shouldn't be your friends, but it may mean that you need to take a step back and find people that are doing positive things. You know, you might have that one pal that trains really hard in the gym. Nurture that person, because you're going to get something from that conversation and that discipline. And don't get me wrong, if there's people around me that aren't doing as well, I always want to look after them. But the power of having positive individuals around you is something that, for me, now is pivotal. And I always have to check myself, because you just need that inspiration. You know, when you're talking to people about their business, or you're talking about how someone did this, or created this content, or made this money in this way, you can get an idea. It can change your perspective. You can change your whole business based off that. Yeah. So that is something I would have done earlier, is built a better network earlier, and probably done more on the personal branding side of stuff to tell the story more. Yeah.
Okay. Great, mate. Thanks for that. 2 quick ones before we do our quick fire at the end.
Yep.
What was it like interviewing David Beckham?
He's a great guy. He is a great guy.
How did it come about?
Shout out David Beckham, because that guy was lovely, you know.
Yeah, he's obviously listening as well.
Yeah, oh, no doubt. I'm sure he follows my every move, right? Yeah, David was a very humble, lovely guy. The way he walked in made us feel comfortable. Like I said, I can't kick a ball for shit. So when I saw David Beckham, I obviously didn't let him know that. But he was just very easy to talk to. And I've heard people say that a lot about him, you know. He's someone that is very humble with what he's done. Generally, that's what I've heard. It was great to talk to him. And it was one of the easier ones for me, because I'm not massively into football like some. So there were some of my friends who were like, you interviewed David Beckham, you must have been so nervous. I was like, actually, in that one I wasn't. But there have been others, not that I can name some of them right now, where I have been a lot more nervous.
Go on, like who?
Actually, I think I was quite nervous when I interviewed Anthony Joshua, because the setup as well was crazy. the way they set it up, and then there was like about 50 people standing round. This was when I was kind of new to the game.
What was that for?
This was for JD Sports.
Okay.
But we messed up the recording as well. So we didn't get the footage either. I'm like, thank God for that, because I looked like I was shitting a brick.
Oh, it's so good, man.
But yeah, in the early days when you start, right? When you start interviewing and it can be tricky sometimes.
Nerve-wracking, for sure.
Yeah.
Favourite trainer?
Favourite trainer? For its legacy, it has to be the Huarache, the one that you've got on your feet, the all-black Huarache. But for what I wear every day, the Air Force One. I wear so many different Air Force Ones.
Yeah.
Probably buy a pair every few weeks.
Really?
I'm kind of like the Dr. Dre of the UK. He buys a pair of Air Forces, only the all-white ones he buys. But I'm like the UK version. I just literally, because they're comfy, they're nice, the Air Forces all day. Yeah.
Nice, amazing, mate. All right, these last three quick fire.
Nice.
So one thing you're particularly excited about at the moment?
We've got the Sole Market launching, which is the buyers and sellers marketplace. We've already launched the MVP, and we're just about to go live with the sellers.
MVP, minimum viable product.
Minimum viable product.
Yeah.
We know it works. We've had people buying, and we're just about to go live with the sellers upload section. So we're going to onboard thousands of sellers, and at that point, it should take off.
Yeah.
And we're very excited about it, because this is the first time where we may look to talk to external people who might want to get involved and help support either financially or in another way, because we know we can accelerate this project fast and take a share of the market, because we've already got the authority and we've already got the tech. It's about accelerating that product. So I'm very excited about that.
Wow, amazing, mate. No, I'm excited. Tell me when it's live. I will buy a pair of trainers to support as soon as it goes. Not that you need it.
It's already live, but we've only got 1 or 2 sellers.
Right.
And that was to prove the concept.
But when the buyers can then come in?
They can buy now.
Oh, right.
But we've only got 1 or 2 sellers. So there's not a lot of availability.
Okay, right.
But at the end of this quarter,
so
at the end of March 2022 is when the sellers, they can start signing up officially.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, mate. So excited, and congrats on all of that. That's amazing.
Thanks.
One habit you would encourage all listeners to incorporate into their day?
Introspection, self-awareness, looking at yourself every day. Am I a good person? Am I being the best I can be? And that is everything from, am I looking after myself health-wise? I kind of say this triangle. I don't know if I've got this from anywhere else subconsciously. I think I come up with it. It's this triangle: health, wealth, and love. If you're looking after yourself and you've got love from friends and family, you've got wealth in the middle, you're going to have happiness. And it's that trifecta of things, you know. So every day, are you being the best you can be? And ultimately, by doing that, you're going to create your own happiness. It's not the be-all and end-all, but that introspection, like that self-awareness, is everything. Because you're going to treat people better when you realise, when you review, and that can be through journaling at the end of the day, that can be through just talking. You can ask your good friend, how do you think I handled that situation? And if they're a true friend, they'll tell you, you know. Or if you've got a good senior team, they'll say, your energy's off today, you okay? And you can analyse it. Why was I like this? Well, it's because I ate at McDonald's last night and I drank 6 beers. You know, so like introspection is everything. Yeah.
I love that, mate. Health, wealth, and love.
Health, wealth, and love.
Last one. Imagine there's 2 versions of yourself. Take yourself back to a particularly challenging period. What's the difference between the version of you sat opposite me now who's achieved all the amazing things you've achieved and the version of yourself who wouldn't have gone on to do all those things?
What's the difference? The difference is just constantly trying to do it again. That sounds a bit mad, but for instance, if you're going to the gym and you want to get bigger in the gym and you don't do it properly in the first 3 months and you go out and you start eating badly again and you stop going, try again, get back in there and go again, go for 4 months. The same with business. If you build an app and you spend 35 grand on it and it fails, try again. Spend 80 grand on it the next time and let it fail. And then try again and spend whatever you spend the next time. This whole thing of like, keep trying no matter what. Because the day that you give up is the day that you're not going to create that happiness within, in my eyes. So everything I'm doing is always about, it's a roller coaster of keep trying. It's never just like a straight line of, I've done it all perfectly. It's just keep trying. And that's what I could say to anyone, because it's never over. And this is one thing I like about someone like Gary Vee, is that he says, we've got a lot of time. And if you're looking after yourself and you're 30, you're 20, 30, 40, 50, and you're in good shape, you've got all the time in the world to keep trying, to keep learning, you know? So there's some of these gurus that I don't like to listen to at all. When I see them, I switch off, but there's definitely certain bits of advice. Keep trying, keep getting inspiration. And, well, I've given you 3 bits of info in one here, haven't I? But like the Book of Entrepreneur's Wisdom says, if you've got an idea and it's low risk and low money to start, just start. See how you do. Yeah. And if it doesn't work, try again. Keep trying.
It's so good, man.
Yeah.
It's so good. The Chinese proverb, fall 7, rise 8.
Yeah.
Fall down 7 times, rise 8 times. And there's a guy I spoke to who's a coach as well, who said his standout quality was the ability to start again. It's exactly what you're saying, right? When that thing gets difficult or challenging or whatever, you know, keep going, or start again. The same thing, restart. Yeah,
I think it's a scary thought as well when you get some success to think of starting again. But I've thought about that as well. And did you mention the Chinese proverb? Or like the Buddhists say, don't they? They say, bring death to the forefront of your mind every day. And if you do that in business by bringing risk to the forefront of your mind every day, what could go wrong? How could we fail? And effectively, how could we die as a business? You're always going to be striving to do better. So that really does resonate with me, what that guy said. So that's very important, because you can easily get caught on success and be blind to what could go wrong. Yeah.
That's powerful, mate. That's powerful.
Appreciate.
Great way to end, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, mate. It's been a pleasure.
I'm glad we did this, man.
And me. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
Nice one.